Uh, my name is Funton Daniel. I will be speaking here from Great State of. Thank you for Erin for tuning in. Thanks, Miss Cliston. Thank you for joining in. And if you just join in, and I wanted to share, so we have more of our people share so that they can also join in. It's a wonderful evening. I'm sure you all had a wonderful day as well. And here again, my name is Funton Daniel. I will be speaking here live from the great state of Texas. And remember that you can always get me on my Facebook. You can also get me on my YouTube. You can also get me live on my uh, Instagram. That's the new that I just introduced, and you can also get me live on my Twitter account. So either way, you have other means to getting hold of me. And once again, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this evening, and waiting for more people to join in, and then we can proceed. Mm. Hey, hi. Thank you. And how you guys doing this evening? Anything exciting? Thanks. Great things to you all as well. And anything exciting, anything that's happening, you know? Thank you, Divine. Divine just joined us. And once again, if you just joining us, just type below so that I know exactly where you are. Because by typing good good morning, but good morning, where is your locations? Because here is evening here in the great state of Texas. So probably in the Middle East. Where are your locations? Thank you again. I'm sure we are, I think it is exactly 7:30 p.m. here in the United States. And I don't know where you are. Just type below and I will know exactly where you are. And if you just tuning in, just booyah, ground zero. That's the people I need to talk to. Yes. Yes. So if you're tuning in, just indicate below where you are because that gave me a broader knowledge of where my audience are. And I have one person from ground zero. So if you just tune in, if you're here in the United States, just briefly indicate where you are in the United States. If you are in Canada, just indicate below in the Canada. If you're in South America, just indicate below South America. If you're in Europe, just indicate below. So I usually go through to know exactly where my audience are. And I want to take a moment to thank you. Yes, that's 1:32 a.m. and it is 7:32 here in the great state of 7:32 p.m. here in the great state of Texas. Thank you for being awake, and it's the wonderful. I thought you guys should be sleeping by now, but you're still awake. And thank you again. Um, uh, Just want to thank you, all of you. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, all of you tuning in. And I want to take a moment to thank all of you that are joining me live this evening. You know, what has actually prompted me to get into involved in these problems is Southern Cameroon, And I thought it is important that I brought this attention not to the great men and women, to the United States citizens, and to all these wonderful men and women of these great nations. Because the true and the factual reality is often not spoken. And because it is not, and you find that there is a lot of genocide happening around the world. But the major media, they don't talk about it because if the case was in Europe, it would have been flashing all over the major media. But since they cannot mention it in the various major media, I mean, you will see that the entire major media will be speaking about these issues about affecting Europe. But when it comes to other continents, but when it, baby, when it comes to major media, people don't talk about issues affecting Africa continent. And that is why I just want to take the moment to expose exactly what is happening in Southern Cameroon. Because what happened is that I am also the son from that particular territory. And remember, when one incident happened in Europe, you will see everything on the major media. But you can imagine that at least 60,000 Southern Cameroon are being displaced in Nigeria, and no major media has talked about it. And at least there are murdering of people, the entire village, the entire areas of Southern Cameroon, entire community, their home burned to non-existence by La Republique. And yet no media is showing any brief of such images because it's not in those pertinent areas of the world. And when you see like Iranians, when Iranian breed, the major media are speaking about it. And when any other incident happen, they are speaking about it. But when it comes to Africa, they either ignore or not pay attention or don't even care about it. And that is why I want to turn this opportunity to expose it to the fellow American citizens. And, it is painful when you sit here and you realize that your mother, your sons, your daughters, your sisters, your uncles, and their last saving that they have worked for the entire period of their life, and they manage to have a hut, a home, a place they call home. And they manage to live with their children and sisters and other close relatives. And La Republique's military goes and carry on genocide, murdering the people, burn some alive. That is the problem that I am concerned, and that has drawn my attention to expose that evil government to the rest of the world. But before I proceed, I want to take a moment to thank the United States government. I want to thank the United States government because the United States government has been gone all these methods of helping the rest of the world, you know, especially those that have been ignored. United States is a very wonderful government, and it is because of the system of government here that is very, very, very important. First, the different arm of government function independently. And if one arm is not functioning, the other one call into attention What are you doing? I am here. It's what they call check and balancing. And so I want to take a moment to thank the 24 members of the US Congress that wrote to the Secretary of State. I know the Secretary of State may have had a document and maybe has not deliberated on it, but we are thanking the new coming Secretary of State, who was CIA director. And he will be taking over the Department of State. The Department of State is a wonderful body that takes care of all the ongoing crises in and around the world. And State Department is not just any department. It's a department that makes sure that the rest of the world are safe for both the community. And that is why I am speaking to this evening before the new Secretary of State takes over his office, that the crisis in Southern Cameroon must be brought to. The people of Southern Cameroon is not an ethnic fighting for separation. It's not. Because La République with French government has distorted the factual information for their benefit. France has distorted information for their benefit, describing the Southern Cameroon as a secessionist. Maybe that's the definition of the French government, calling Southern Cameroon as a secessionist. Seceding from who? Why should it secede from who? If French word doesn't have definition of secession, then they should better renovate their word. They should change the definition of secession so that it should better suit the meaning of the two words in French. Because by describing Southern Cameroon, the Anglophone speaking territory, as secessionists, then it becomes distorting factual information for their self-interest, for their benefit against the citizens of Southern Cameroon. What is actually a secession? Secession is one part of a country breaking away. In this case, is Southern Cameroon breaking away from who? It's a cohabiting relationship that the Anglophone speaking have with La République du Cameroon. It's a cohabit relationship. Cohabiting means two nations of different identity, different structure, different formula coming together to live together. Just like a child, a woman from different family and a guy from different family, and they choose to live together. That is what is called a cohabiting relationship. That is what La République and Anglophone speaking are living together. It's not distorting information telling the world that the Anglophone is seceding. Seceding from who? It is very, very imperative. It is very, it is very dishonesty when a nation distort information for their own self-interest against those supposed to benefit. Southern Cameroon is a nation. The fact that La République got their independence in 1960 and Southern Cameroon got his independence in the preceding year does not mean they have to combine them and distorting the reality in the benefit of France. Remember, the people of Southern Cameroon, they had a political structure. They have a democratic form of government before La République. Even though La République got their independence in 1960, but Southern Cameroon were more organized, more political structure, more of a nation than La République. And the reason is because France distort the right information. They distort La République. The democratic form of government that should have prevailed in La République was distorted by France for their own selfish interests. And when they realized that the UPC was about to gaining more popularity, seeking for self-determination, seeking for political freedom, seeking for economic freedom, and France, with complicity of Amadou Ahidjo, banned UPC. And when they banned UPC, they began the genocide as they are doing now in the Anglophone territory. So France was more of a self-interest rather than the interest of the people, rather than the interest of the La République citizens, rather than cooperating and get a meaningful democratic society. And that is why, up to date, they believe in the French system of manipulations. There cannot be any meaningful election taking place in La République. And up to date, no one can clarify and state exactly with conscious mind that La République has gained a meaningful through a democratic form of government that they have elected. They haven't. And why? Because the French, in the beginning, distorting factual information for their self-gratification rather than the people concerned. And that is why that method has brought this hegemony of La République. They believe in distortion of information. They believe in manipulations. They don't believe in factual democratic form of government. And that is why when France sees this, they manipulate. And yet when you go to France, they have a meaningful elections. They don't distort factual information. But because African descent are confused black race, and that they can use whatever they can and distort factual information for their own self-glorification. But the people of Southern Cameroon will not yield to the call of the French manipulations. The Southern Cameroon will not yield to that call of manipulation, self-gratification, and self-interest. And so Southern Cameroon has chosen separate independence because they don't want to get involved with France. And so France should ask its citizens. I understand I post on my Facebook, France ambassador has started calling all its citizens to get out of Southern Cameroon. So too La République should get out of Southern Cameroon. As the French ambassador began today to call in on all its citizens to get out of Southern Cameroon territory, and so too La République need to get out of Southern Cameroon territory. La République need to get out of Southern Cameroon territory. We believe in the rule of law. We believe in a democratic form of government. We believe that people can go to the poll and elect their people and have that vote counted. We don't believe in distortion of information for self-gratification. We believe in a rule of law. We believe in an independent government. We believe that people should be able to be proud of their government. And so the people have the duty to recall a government that failed to yield to the people. And that has been a system that we were brought up in that category. And we've been following this pattern. The fact that we invite La République to become cohabiting relationship does not give La République authority to carry on destruction and murdering our citizens because we invited them. It is very, very regrettable. It is very, very regrettable. One would want to ask why the history of La République are never taught in school. Because it's going to expose the French brutality in the 50s, in the 60s against the people of Bamileke, against the people of Bassa. And that is why France keeps influencing La République to distort the reality of historical factual information. And it was never taught in school. And they frame the stories in such a way that suit the French interest. And that is why they don't have no authority to question, because they never learned what exactly is how does Southern Cameroon became a relationship with La République. Because of manipulations, because of distortion of reality, because of this manipulation, and they claim divide and rule system. And how they began to dismantle the Southern Cameroon structure and how they began to uproot that self-identity of the Southern Cameroon. Because history, that was something that was formulated, and that as soon as the British, they understand that Britain, when Britain asked for Britain grant political and economic freedom. Because Britain grant political and economic freedom and allow the nation to self-determine their destiny, they participate and with them and ensure that they are growing responsibly. And that is why democratic prevail in Southern Cameroon, whereas in La Republique it doesn't. Since France was very skillful and knew that once Southern Cameroon became independent, the British were going to leave. And so that became the term for them to use and began to assimilate and distorting and changing, manipulating the Southern Cameroon territory. One would ask a question in a referendum that they often claim, why were there two cards? And the two cards says we in French, and the other version, yes, in English. So either one you were voting for them. That was the French smartest idea, to distorting reality for their self-glorification, for their self-interest. But the era has long gone, and that the Southern Cameroon has risen, and that they stand firm, and that distortion of reality will not persist no more, and that the people of Southern Cameroon are ready for to control their country, and they don't need any other person to stand and determine how and when they should do it. As the French ambassador began to uproot his citizens in Southern Cameroon territory, and so too La Republic need to start to uproot its citizens to get out of Southern Cameroon. But those who want to stay and they've been adopted to the Southern Cameroon way of life, you are welcome to stay, but you must respect the culture, the value, the economic, the political, and every aspect of the Southern Cameroon, because that is our self-determination. That is the value we believe. That is how the government we want to function. Anyone shall never become a truant against the will of the people. There is one thing that I always read about the United Nations vote. The reason I read because France in particular, did not vote for the sovereignty recognized Southern Cameroon. So because it was a pre-plan, it was a premeditated plan to distort and wipe out the Southern Cameroon territory in the map. And so that is why when La Republique began this distortion, it began with the vote of the 1972, the Fumbada vote. That is where they began. They began to assimilate. This was a period of over 50 years. And they hope that by within this period, they have completely uprooted and distorted the Southern Cameroon. And that would never exist in the face of the map. And that is why French has been behind. But unfortunately, the sons and daughters of Southern Cameroon, we are in the diaspora. We must come together. We must stand against France's hegemony. We will not allow such a behavior to disroot and distort our factual information for their self-glorification. I am speaking to the American because the major media will not have time to actually explain exactly what is happening, because they have their few minutes to show, and the rest should be for their commercial, for their self. But I have enough time to speak about the Southern Cameroon. I have enough time to talk to the rest of the world about Southern Cameroon. And if you are not able to get these information, go to my website after the program is over. You will still listen to make sure we must stand firmly. We must stand firmly. Why should we become slavery? Why should at least 60,000 Southern Cameroon be languishing in Nigeria? As I'm speaking, a woman just delivered in 2 days ago a twins in the forest. I mean, it's a bit. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. As I'm speaking right now, at this moment, a woman delivered a set of twins in the forest. It is really, really, really a bizarre that the Southern Cameroon sons and daughters, women delivering children in the forest. And one will ask, why is La Republic doing in Southern Cameroon? This is a question I keep on asking. Why is La Republic doing in Southern Cameroon? Why? A woman delivered twins, a set of twins in the forest as I'm speaking. And it is same, another woman delivered probably several months backward. And he delivered a set of twins. And she bleed to death. But unfortunately, the Good Samaritan helped and sustained the two children and they survived. But the mother was not able to survive because there was no medical care, there was no treatment, and she was escaping. She was escaping from the invasion of La Republique. She was escaping from the invasion of La Republique. And one will ask oneself, what is La Republique in Southern Cameroon territory? The fact is, when the United Nations Central African Regional Representative, Francois Lefort described the Southern Cameroon as a terrorist. Southern Cameroon, in their citizens of Southern Cameroon, in their territory as terrorists. You see, that gives you the impression that people distort information, giving wrong information to the rest of the world. That was someone sitting in front of the United Nations describing the Southern Cameroon as a terrorist in their territory. Should he have investigated, got a factual information to be able to present to the United Nations? And yet, because they believe in him, he should have immediately terminated from that moment, from that time, immediately. Because when you give wrong information, imagine you go to the hospital and the patient comes in, you distort the information for the patient and give the patient the wrong diagnosis. What happens? The wrong treatment. What happens? The patient dies. Why? Because you distort the factual information. You must have your evidence. If a patient comes in, first thing you do, get a set of vital signs. When you get a set of vital signs, you do an assessment and you do some blood works and do some labs. Those information give the physicians to give good diagnosis for that patient. And so to ensure that the safety and accuracy are maintained. That is what happened in the medical field. I don't know what else happened in other areas. But when a representative of the United Nations, Francois Lefort in Central African region, describing Southern Cameroon as terrorists, where are they terrorists? In their territory or in the La Republique? Your immediate concern is he sound? Is he mentally correct? Is something going wrong? Does he suffer from psychosis? Does he suffer from mental challenges? Those are obvious questions you want to ask yourself before you even ask him, who are you in the first place? And who even gave you the job by the way? You know, That is why, because we don't have access to the media and we don't understand what they speak. That is why they distort information and give wrong information, and the obvious conclusion is the wrong information. And because of the wrong information, from wrong information to the next wrong information to the next wrong information, and finally you find genocide going on in a territory because of people's failure to investigate, to promptly and accurately report exactly what they are seeing. Southern Cameroon is not a secessionist. Southern Cameroon simply restore what belongs to them. That is what the Southern Cameroon did. They simply restore what belongs to them. They're not seceding. Who are they seceding from? From La République? They are seceding. Les anglophones sont sécides. Les anglophones sont sécides. Les anglophones qui vont sortir. Ils vont sécide où? I mean, why I use cohabiting? Because that's something we all do. We are more familiar with that form of relationship. Before you even get married, you get those form of relationship that you cohabiting with someone. And it's more common here in the Western world because the cost of living is expensive. And so by cohabiting with someone, it helps to cut down your expenditure so that you can proceed your education in a meaningful way. But some use it as a stay. But some become happy with that relationship, cohabit, and they extend it further. They get married. But we never got married to La République. We were never got married to La République. La République instead voted against distort our sovereignty because they have external bias with the complicity of France. That is why I am bringing it here and I'm bringing it to the rest of the world that era has long gone. This is not me, it's a United Nations document. Francois Lefort needs this copy. And if he's mentally challenged, then he needs to get out of the United Nations and let's get someone that is capable and that is mentally fit to work in the United Nations. These are the list of the nations. Why I always read this so that when it echoes into the message of the Southern Cameroon and also with the international body, because once they look at the document and they place it in a dustbin, it never came out. That is why people like Francois Lefort, they are not aware of the document they had. And this document that was signed in 1961. So he is more current of what is happening now. He is not current of what happened in the back. Because they lost a sense of memory. As they lost sense of memory, they lack sense of recall. And since they don't have sense of recall, they have to define their word as they began. I am glad that we, the Anglo-Saxon, believe in factual information. And that is why at any of my communications, I read this document. So because they distort the reality of factual information, and Southern Cameroon become the sufferer. United Nations UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, Resolution 1608 XV, 21st of April 1961. The United Nations General Assembly 994 plenary meeting on Friday, 21st of April 1961 at 3 p.m. in New York, here in the United States. It's not in China, because in China you would expect that they were going to distort the reality and factual information. But it is here in the United States. The 15th Session General Assembly President was Frederick Boland of Ireland. The United Nations General Assembly Vice President was Mr. Xiang of China. The rapporteur during the committee was Mr. Boy of Denmark. Those were the executive members of the United Nations. And I'm sure the current United Nations Secretary General should have read this before collecting gold from La République. Should have read this before collecting gold from La République. Because La République, the essence of giving gold was to ask him to distort information. As Francois Defort, his appointee, has distorted factual information about the Southern Cameroon. And so giving gold to the current United Nations Secretary General so that he can distort the factual information for their self-glorification. And so they should wipe the Southern Cameroon from the map of the world. As I breathe this natural air, Southern Cameroon shall never be wiped from the map of the world. And I shall stand until we walk hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, till we land to the Southern Cameroon as a free territory. The 64 nations that voted for the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon, there were 64 in number. Honduras, Hungary, Iceland, India, Indonesia, Iran, Iraq, Ireland, Japan, Jordan, Laos, Lebanon, Liberia, Libya, Mali, Mexico, Morocco, Nepal, Netherlands, New Zealand, Nigeria, Norway, Pakistan, Philippines, Poland, Romania, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Sweden, Thailand, Tunisia, Turkey, Ukraine, Union of Soviet Republic, Union of South Africa, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, Northern Ireland, United States of America. So United States of America voted at the United Nations and its plenary session, recognizing the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon as a full nation. And that is why I am calling on the United States to stand for its obligations against the genocide and brutality of the Southern Cameroon. Venezuela, Yemen, Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, Albania, Australia, Austria, Bolivia, Bulgaria, Burma, Belarus Socialist Republic, Canada, Ceylon, Chile, Costa Rica, Cuba, Cyprus, Czechoslovakia, Denmark, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Ethiopia, Federation of Malaya, Finland, Ghana, and Guinea. Guess what did not vote? France did not. Because they have a premeditated plan to wipe the Southern Cameroon from the entire map of the world. And that is what they have prepared. And that by not voting, they have a means to, because they are the permanent member of the Security Council. You can, if you see, this can give you the how France has prepared, premeditated to wipe the Southern Cameroon out of the map of Africa. Because Africa is the harvesting forest for French hegemony. 23 nations that voted against the Southern Cameroon territory. The 23 includes Israel, Ivory Coast, Luxembourg, Madagascar, Niger, Paraguay, Senegal, Upper Volta, Uruguay, Argentina, Belgium, Brazil, Cambodia, La République. La République voted against the Southern Cameroon territory. La République did. Central African Republic, Chad, China. That is why China, there is rushing to China. China, Congo, Libreville, Dahomey, France, Gabon, and Greece. So France did not vote for the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon, and it collided with the French colonial territory, not to vote with Southern Cameroon. But unfortunately, the God of Jerusalem stood for the people of Southern Cameroon, and their independence was granted. And I am asking France, leave the Southern Cameroon, come as equal business partner and deal with Southern Cameroon. We will welcome you as a business partner, but we will not welcome you as a colonial masters. You can stay in La République and become the colonial master of La République. They can believe you, they can assure you, they can romance with you but we will not be romanced by La République du Cameroon. We must stand firmly, we must unite, and we must get them out of our southern Cameroon territory. We must. Why should the mother be delivering a child in the forest? Why? Why? Even, even the entire southern Cameroon has demonstrated that they don't want any relationship with La Republic. And they single out a certain mentally confused individuals. That's ex-prisoner and appoint as territorial administration and claim it is a son of the soil. If La Republic can take some ex-prisoner, and appointed just because all the rest of Southern Cameroon has kicked against La Republic, they will take ex-prisoner that they have convicted and appoint territorial administration and claim to be Southern Cameroon. I am sorry to let you know that that can never be Southern Cameroon. He is a traitor and can never function in Southern Cameroon. And when he stepped into the Southern Cameroon, get rid of him. Get rid of him. Call Paul. Who is Paul? That's ex-convict. That's ex-convict in La Republique, in Douala, in New Bay prison. That's where the notorious goes to prison, in New Bay prison in Douala. He was one of the notorious prisoners that have been released. And today he's become minister representing the Anglophone Southern Cameroon. And yet people who will stand, oh, I have a minister. We no longer become that era of when we have people distorting information for their self-gratification. When he was placed in New Bay prison, did they recognize that he was a Southern Cameroon? It's today they recognize that he is a Southern Cameroon, and therefore we need to welcome him, and that he's standing to bring the Southern Cameroon to La République to form a union. If he stepped into the Southern Cameroon, get rid of him. Get rid of him. And another person is the governor. He has already relocated his citizens to Douala. Get him on the road as he stepped into the Southern Cameroon and get rid of him. The long term, that long era has gone. That era has gone. You know, the world community, the international community, we have presented this case. Not only the person that actually brought us to this mess with La République, Jongu Foncha, personally to the United Nations, here in the United States, said the relationship that I initially initiated with La République, I don't think it is workable. He said it. Jongu Foncha, that the relationship that I earlier initiated with La République is no longer functions. But United Nations doesn't see it as somebody speaking because they are not, they lack what they call recall memory. Because they lack recall memory and they distort information, even including the late, all of them that are of late. The Speaker of the National Assembly. Those were the Anglophone. Those were the people during the initiation of that relationship. All this mess that we have, they step up to the United Nations and say, this relationship, we no longer value it as valid. And the United Nations remains silent, say everything is okay with La République. And that is why it has boiled until it reached a point of explosion. And that is why it has exploded. That's why it has exploded. Because the world community remains silent. And because when you speak, as soon as you walk out, they are drinking their wine. They are drinking their whiskey. They are drinking their beer. And say, of course, Isong ensemble. Isong ensemble. Il n'y a aucun problème. On ne voit pas aucun problème avec les anglophones. Yes, on ne voit aucun problème. And that problem continues to boil. When the anglophones step up in the AAC1, When the launching of the SDF, the formation of the AAC1, the formation of the AAC2, La Republique manipulations, not only manipulations, but distorting factual information begin to replace the judges in the southern Cameroon were being immediately replaced with the Francophones. All the hospital doctors were being replaced with the Francophones. Governor replaced with the Francophones. The divisional officer replaced with the Francophones. The education system replaced with the Francophones. And we just fold our arms and remain silent. That is the plan of France has prepared long time ago. But we will not yield to that, and we must stand firm. We must wipe out of them, out of the southern Cameroon. And we began to uproot that seed that they have planted to continue to germinate. We need to uproot that seed and prepare southern Cameroon for newest nations. As I'm speaking, the cabinet of southern Cameroon that was residing in Nigeria today has been how many months? The world body remains silent. United Nations remains silent. The world body remains silent. No one is speaking about it. The entire cabinet of Southern Cameroon territory. That is the cabinet of Southern Cameroon. That is the interim government of Southern Cameroon. Those are the citizens of Southern Cameroon. Today is how many months? The world remains silent. No one is talking about it. No one is talking about it. Everyone remains silent. No one is talking about it. But if something happened in Europe, it will be all over the major media. They will be screaming. They will be talking about it every day. But the entire cabinet of Southern Cameroon, the Anglophone territory, no one major media is talking about it. No one is even questioning why it's up. Because French is the veto power. And the entire continent of Africa don't even have a single veto in the United Nations. The rest of the world, the rest of the other continents have a veto member power in the United Nations. But Africa has zero veto power in the continent. And that is why France makes sure that Africa's voice are scrutinized and abolished and demoralized against the will of Africa. And yet, we have Africa leaders that remain silent and they don't want to speak up. But I have to speak up. If a single individual was missing, the various major media would have been speaking about the crisis and how to give you the minute by minute, second by second, hour by hour, days by days, and how the problem arises. But the entire cabinet of Southern Cameroon, no one is talking about it. Everyone remains silent. Everyone, every major media remains silent. Every United Nations remains silent. Even the European Parliament remains silent. European Union remains silent. British Parliament remains silent. The Nigerian government, where they adopted, remains silent. The Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations was physically in Nigeria when the Southern Cameroon cabinet was adopted in Nigeria. A premeditated adoption, and the world remains silent. Nigeria Deputy United Nations Secretary General was physically in Nigeria. Should have been immediately terminated from that position. Should have been immediately terminated from that position because she hasn't come out and give a clear accountability. What was her mission in Nigeria? How did the Southern Cameroon cabinet dismiss? And what happened? Nigerian government remains silent. And so too the world community remains silent. And La Republic is destroying the human soul. But if it was in the Western society, it will be all over the major media. They will be giving minute by minute, second by second, hour by hour, and giving the reality until they understand exactly what happened. But the entire cabinet of the Anglophone speaking, where I was born, where I grew up, and where I was breastfed by my mom, and the cabinet of that government, has been disappearing. And the United Nations Deputy Secretary General, here in the United States, was physically in Nigeria, and that night that they were adopted and the world remained silent. No one is capable to mention or talk about it. No one is capable to talk about it. No one cares to mention about it. And Nigerian government remains silent. And when you ask an ambassador, Nigerian ambassador to United Nations, he said he is not aware. If he is not aware, what is he doing in the United Nations that cannot give account of his government, then he shouldn't be an ambassador. Ambassador must be a person that represents that nation and should be able to give the goal and the focus to the world, what they think their country stands for. And if that individual cannot give account of what the Nigerian government is up to, then he shouldn't be here in this world body. Because they've distorted the reality and given wrong analysis, wrong impression to the rest of the world. That is how the world is living. Living by wrong impression, living by wrong distorted information. That is how the world is manipulated and people are living. But that era needs to change. That era needs to change. Because if Southern Cameroon cabinet are missing 3, 4, 5 months and the United Nations remains silent, Southern Cameroon is not a part of Nigeria. Southern Cameroon is a trusted territory. And this is what the trusted territoryship entails. This is what entrusted territory of the United Nations Security Council entails. And they ought to live by these obligations. This is what it says. In setting up an international trustee system, the charter established the Trusteeship Council, one of the main organs of the United Nations, and assigned to its task of supervising the administration of trustee territory places under the trusteeship system. The main goal of the system were to promote advancement of inhabitants of trustee territories and the progressive development towards self-government or independence. That is United Nations background information. And the Trusteeship Council is made up of 5 permanent members of the Security Council: China, France, Russia Federation, United Kingdom, and United States. Those are the 5 members of the United Nations. Southern Cameroon is a member of another permanent member of the Security Council, which is Great Britain. And La République is a member of another member of the Trustee Council, which is France. And so because it's a collusion, no one cares to speak up. Everyone remains silent and back up. But I am here to speak up. Britain, get up from your chair and stand up and defend the Southern Cameroon. If you are a representative of the Security Council, get up from your seat and speak up on behalf of Southern Cameroon. As France is distorting the information in the Security Council, and you don't remain silent. And so the people of Southern Cameroon shall never remain silent. They must stand their freedom. The aim of the trusteeship system have been fulfilled to the extent that all the trustee territories have attained self-government or independence. But Southern Cameroon has not got its independence. They're still going through colonial, from colonial to colonial, despite the fact that in 1961, their independence was granted. And he goes there, either a separate state or a joining neighboring independent country. And so that in line with the Southern Cameroon, or joining a neighboring country. We have joined La République for the past 56 years, and we have not got what we got. And so therefore, we need to remain separate. We need to leave La République and become our own self-governing. And that is why we are asking Britain, get up from your seat. You are a permanent member of the Security Council. So too, France is a permanent member of the Security Council. Tell the United Nations that the Southern Cameroon has stand up and that they want their sovereignty to remain separate. $60,000 refugees are languishing in Nigeria. 60,000 are languishing in Nigeria. 60,000. Mothers have been burnt alive. Children have been burnt alive. Children have been delivered in the forest on their way to Nigeria, escaping from the La République military wing. And one will ask What is La République in the first place? What is La République in the first place? One will not even explain what is La République in Southern Cameroon. Is Southern Cameroon citizens not capable? Are they not educated enough? What else do they need? What else? What else do they need? What else? The world needs to step up. The world needs to step up and become more of a conflict prevention rather than a conflict promotion. The world must step up, become either a conflict prevention, not a conflict promotion. I want to thank you. I know you guys are prepared tomorrow for your day activities. I know you're prepared tomorrow for work, but I shall be coming more and more to question the validity of the United Nations duty and the genocide going on in the Southern Cameroon territory. And then we can draw a conclusion whether does La République merit to be in Southern Cameroon. Does it? Does La République merit to be in Southern Cameroon and deciding what has to be done in Southern Cameroon? Does it? Does La République have that legitimacy? And if it does, then tell me why they have legitimacy. Because information has been distorted. And as information has been distorted, the Southern Cameroon become the prosecutor. They become the evil, they become the people that are suffering. And 60,000 of its citizens are languishing in Nigeria. The sons and daughters are elsewhere. Mother have been delivered children in the middle of the forest. As they deliver the children in the middle of the forest, and they're being beaten by snakes and mosquitoes. La République is over there burning the homes and destructing every aspect of the Southern Cameroon. The international community remains silent. It doesn't occur to them that they need to stop the genocide as it is happening in Southern Cameroon. The people of Southern Cameroon are genuine people. They're people that have self-identity. There are people that they have modern sense of well-belonging. And so they are asking this world, should they be distorting information for self-glorification of the French hegemony over the sovereign people of Southern Cameroon? When in France, Africans are not welcome as they should in every rest of the part of the world, but yet they glue onto African continent. They glue onto democratic form of government. They glue on every aspect, and that even the breeding aspect cannot be found or felt. And yet Africans still respect. Why should the South Africa, its currency, be decided by France? Is the French franc decided, or whatever they call the European Union, European currency? Is it decided by Africa? Why should Africa be tied to the French currency? The African speaking, why should their currency be tied to the French currency? Are they not a country? Why must they be tied to the French currency? Because French has to decide what time you need to go to the restroom and have a bowel movement, what time you need to talk to your wife, what time you need to walk on the street, what time you need to drink water, what time you can breathe the natural air. They must put an oxygen to make sure that they control every aspect of your breathing. That is France. But Africa need to overcome all that and began to uproot all those and become building a nation, not only for the African descent and those who happen choose Africa as a place of destiny, and they will also build Africa for a place for every human being, not a glue for the French hegemony. That era has long gone. That era has long gone. But if La République want to continue to live in that habit, then Southern Cameroon has already moved, because France did what it did in the UPC in the 60s and in the 50s. But Southern Cameroon will not be part of that. And so too, we are moving forward. We know there are black legs, and including the Newberg graduate prisoners, claim to be the Speaker of Southern Cameroon. You are one seriously. Your time and your days are numbered, because we will not tolerate such a behavior. If you was in jail for Newberg prison and you become a speaker of the Southern Cameroon. So an ex-convict become the speaker of the Anglophone territory. Unfortunately, that era has long gone. Wish you all the best of the rest of the night. Good night.